The Jersey Swap podcast is sponsored by Apollo Home. Apollo Home wants to remind you that during this weird in between season of summer and fall, now is the perfect time to get your HVAC system checked out before the cold winter weather is here. We're bringing back the $29 coupon for CST listeners for your pre winter furnace tune up. And as always, keep them in mind for any electrical or plumbing needs. Give them a call, send them a text, or schedule online at apollohome.com. Hey everyone, welcome once again to the Jersey Swap podcast. And the finish line can't be any clearer. It's already in sight. Your orange and blue are returning home after a solid weekend on the West Coast. Thanks to a 3-2 victory in LA, FC Cincinnati has a legitimate shot at another shield in their cabinet. Our next opponents, the Lions without wings to the south, Orlando City SC, they have a faint shot at number one, but they still have a shot nonetheless. They'll need some dominoes to fall. Getting to the postseason is job number one. And a win against Cincinnati this weekend, well, that will welcome Orlando into the next round. We have with us tonight Luis Carlos Pineda from Loud and Proud Orlando to help us talk about Orlando City and plan for some Sunday night football. Here he is tonight. Welcome to the show, Luis.
Thank you, Jeff, and everybody that's watching. Make sure you drop your comments and subscribe to Cincy Talk, and thank you for all your support and for inviting us here at your awesome podcast. So delighted to be here.
Yeah, thanks for first time here. We tend to bring in our opposition so we can pick their brains, and if they want to pick back, we open up that too. That's the whole concept of swapping jerseys, of course. So small talk. Let's start off. How did you get involved with Orlando?
So I started covering Orlando with Area Sports Network, which is an outlet from one of my good friends, Alonso Contreras. And I got the opportunity of covering the Orlando Pride. And after he moved from Seattle to Orlando, he was going to take over that side of Orlando. And essentially I started Loud and Pride Orlando as an outlet. And we started covering all teams Orlando. So the Orlando Pride, Orlando City, and also OCB, MLS Next Pro. We were also interested in covering other sports, but mainly we stick with soccer. And before LPO and the creation of LPO, I was actually just a regular avid soccer fan, just like all of y'all. And I'm originally from South America, from Peru. So, we have that soccer culture there very present. And definitely when I heard in 2010 that there was a soccer team, starting in USL for Orlando, I didn't think twice. So I was a season pass holder in the USL era for Orlando City. And then eventually became a season pass holder for when they clinched the MLS franchise. So it's a full circle for me, to do this, something that it's my passion, and definitely making a difference in the Central Florida community. So pretty exciting.
It's kind of interesting because I think Orlando, when they passed on their license to the next USL squad, it was Lou City. So when Lou City was there the year before we joined, and we sort of butted heads a little bit. And I think I can remember the James O'Connor years of Orlando, and there was still a little bit of tension.
We are certainly. John and I always say in our podcast that we have a lot in common with Cincinnati. On the way, kind of organically, we came into the scene, kind of with that kind of built not bought mentality, and so very grassroots movement, and you could see it by our fan bases when you go to Orlando and you go to Interco Stadium, or we go to TQL. Like, it's you see the atmosphere, and it's different than other markets, and for us, that was super important to continue that when they hit the MLS berth, to continue that USL grassroots and bring it into the MLS. So I think Orlando has done a great job. Yes, like any other team, went through some ownership changes I think with the Wolves, things have improved tremendously compared to the previous ownership. Uh, a lot of the only good thing I'll take from that 2015 onwards, kind of 2017, it's Kyle Smith because he came from
Mm,
Louisville City.
yeah,
So James O'Connor actually brought Kyle Smith into the
it's a,
picture here.
it's
Yeah.
amazing. I
So
mean, he started for you guys last weekend, and I'm like,
yeah,
oof, blast from the past.
yeah, he's a fan favorite. Everybody loves him. He's our Dax McCarty,
There you
essentially.
go. There you go.
Yeah.
Uh, let's talk a little bit about Orlando City. I mean, you guys have, I think, one of the great, coaching standouts out there in Oscar Pareja. He's definitely done some great stuff. Got you guys the 2022 U.S. Open Cup. Um, Second longest tenured coach now in MLS. While he's had his difficulties early on in MLS, he's had solid successes at Dallas and Ontario. How would you describe him as a coach? Strategic, a player's coach, mix of the two?
I'll say he's a player's coach with a strategic edge.
Okay, yeah, that
so
works with it.
so he's I think masterful at building locker room, buy-in and fostering a deep resilient culture. I think Orlando's turnaround from being a middling expansion side to consistent contenders in the East speaks to that. So tactically, I feel he's adaptable. Often maybe deploying a fluid 4-2-3-1 or 4-3-3 that emphasizes the heavy press and transitions. And he's not afraid of sometimes grinding out results. you know um, he had 5 straight clean sheets this year in the early 2025, when the year started. So critics, I know a lot of people say that critics may say he's more of like a motivator than a like tactical mastermind. Kind of a lot of people compare him to Tata in a way,
Mm-hmm.
but I feel like he gets results without the drama, so I wouldn't really go that route.
Mm-hmm.
I think and not only that, he's just with less he does a lot. So him and his coaching staff have turned around the careers of several players that right now, if they would have never gone into Orlando City or the MLS, they would have been selling pineapples on the street back home. And I mentioned, for example, Pedro Galese. For example, his
Mm-hmm.
his his turnaround started in Orlando, and I come from Peru, so I kind of follow his career. Um, Also, you having players like we extended their careers, like Nani, Alexandre Pato. These are players that were discarded in Europe and had nagging injuries, and Pareja was able to bring the best out of them. Pato being intricate to the 2022 U.S. Open Cup title, and then Nani being, the guy leading the revolution of Orlando City after being like the Cinderella of the league since they got into the MLS. And also getting players that are low cost. For I think Orlando is one of the teams that uses uses their budget very well. Picks a lot of good picks in the draft, and he does a lot with that. A lot of youth, bringing in a lot of youth players like Alex Freeman, Colin Gusky, and adapting him into a collective unit. So I think he's good at that, and that's why players buy into his strategic nature.
Yeah, we'll definitely bring that up. I mean, you're talking about Gusky, who's a homegrown contract, Alex Freeman, who's now, believe it or not, U.S. men's national team
Yeah.
dynamo. He's managed to get a foot both in the team and now in the national squad. He was a super draft, I believe, this year. He's doing wonderful things as well. Looking at how this team was put together, you could see, like, at the beginning of the preseason, legend Facundo Torres out the door for Palmeiras.
Mhm.
For example, even in the summer window, Ramiro Enrique goes to, I believe, the Saudi leagues. Is that
Yeah,
correct?
yeah, it's like a small team in the Saudi league.
Yeah. But then you're seeing some pretty strategic replacements. Marco Pasalic, Edward Atuesta actually trades teams. He joins from Palmeiras. And then you have the two additions in the summer. Do you feel that enough has been done to beef up this squad? And if there are any deficiencies that still remain?
I think one of the biggest difference that Orlando City has from a lot of the other teams that are right up top right now, easy breezy as I call it, fending for a shield, is that they've opened up their wallet a little more. When it comes to Orlando City, we do have great signings, and this is due to Ricardo Moreira, which is currently our GM, and then also, but he used to be the scouting director at some point, and he brought a lot of the players that you see now, and Luis Musi, which is pretty much almost came in the same era of Oscar Pareja. So I think the wallet, if it would open up a little more, I think we will get, it has opened up already from what it was, but I think, in the how the MLS is moving, I think the not only the team, but the fans expect a little more, right, every year. And so getting with almost the same squad as right now, except a few changes, like you said, to a conference final was huge. Money wise, as a business venture, if you're the owner of Orlando City and you spend the least in the East and you got it that far, it's a tremendous business venture. Um, but I think now the moves that the front office has made have been important. Yes, there's a little bit of deficiencies when it comes to, kind of waiting for, Luis Muriel to score a couple more goals, be a little bit more consistent. Maybe, every player doesn't have a perfect game, so sometimes Rodrigo Schlegel may be playing a little slower than usual. But overall, it's been positive. I think what the front office has brought to the team. Now it could be a little better, and I expect next season to be even better because there's going to be a lot of changes if Orlando doesn't really do much. Or again, there's 3 points that are the difference maker between the third spot and the eighth spot.
Mm-hmm.
So if Orlando moving forward, each game, there's 4 games left, it's a final. If Orlando dips and they don't even make playoffs, it's a failure, and changes are going to come. But I feel with Facu leaving, it was money you cannot turn down, and I think the signing of Pasalic and the signing of Atuesta was spot on. It was needed, especially with Wilder Cartagena being into tearing his Achilles,
Mm-hmm.
and when it came to Spicer, for example, the signing we just got from Toronto, Yutaro Sukara, which was another player from OCB, he tore his quad, I believe, season-ending injury right in preseason, and he was going to be the number 2 under Ivan Angulo, but here comes Pareja trying to not get a emergency signing, but thinking it through, waiting for the window to be opened, and getting Spicer, which is somebody that they've targeted when he was in the draft. So and he matched pretty well. He got an assist last game, so with Duncan McGuire. So, and then obviously the MLS is becoming so competitive. Some of the signings took a little while to grind. Even Martino Ojeda, it took him a whole entire season to become the Martino Ojeda we see now. Adrian Marin, that they just signed, he used to be a former Villarreal player, the left back that they got. He is also right now with an injury, but it's because you have to travel far. There's different size of pitches like NYCFC that still doesn't have a stadium. You have all kinds of situations that even for a player that comes from the elite level like Europe, it's difficult to adapt. Like look at Wilfried Saha in Charlotte. It took him a while to get into the rhythm, but eventually, I think overall, the signings have been positive. Ramiro Enrique, the Alcolud money. I mean, I think it was around $3 million. Um, I think Orlando said we're paying over $1.5 million for Duncan right now.
Mm-hmm.
Let's stick with Duncan and let's take the highest bid for Ramiro. I think it was a move of like they didn't think Ramiro was going to be worth more than 3 million ever. So the money was on the table and they took it.
Mm-hmm.
They took a gamble. And hopefully it pays out. We'll see in the next few games.
We'll definitely see in the next few games. I mean, I sort of looked at the form that you guys have had early on the season. There was a lot of really sound defensive form. 12 straight undefeated, 5 clean sheets. Granted, 4 of those were 0-0 draws, but at the same time, you've got a defense that's been clicking on all cylinders. And then come the middle of the season, a little bit more growing pains, but definitely some big wins. I mean, 2 mammoth wins against Miami. I mean, welcome to the club. They haven't been able to score on you. They haven't been able to score on us. So welcome to the club. The Jersey Swap podcast is also sponsored by Beyond Exercise. Beyond Exercise is a local physical therapy and fitness business that helps people stay active and injury-free. In fact, they help some of our local MLS Next Pro, and FCC Academy players with their health and performance needs. Check out their suite of services at gobeyondexercise.com. Let's bring up a screenshot of how we expect maybe Orlando to set up. You and I spoke in the green room about this. You expect something of a 4-2-3-1 formation here.
Yeah, so if you're listening, it's gonna be Galese. I predict it's gonna be Galese at the sticks. Freeman as your right back, Schlegel and Jensen as your center back duo, and then David Brecolo as your left back. A double pivot with Gervais and Atuesta. More of like Gervais being the solid D mid there. Atuesta kind of going more forward. And then Angulo on the left wing, Pasalic on the right wing. In the middle as your 10 will be Martin Ojeda. And right up top as your 9 will be Luis Muriel. So I think this is going to be the starting lineup for Orlando City against Cincinnati. I think Gervais had a little bit of a knock. I think he's back in full form. Cesar Araujo is still injured. He's probably game decision. If Araujo is available, we'll see Cesar Araujo instead of Gervais more than likely. But yeah, like you said, defensively, Orlando knows Oscar Pareja knows how to hold off a game defensively. But nothing's been perfect, I think. But I do credit Schlegel and Jansen for the positive results, as well as Brecolo has been quite influential in the back line. Obviously, the last game, the goal that came for Nashville kind of came through his side, with Schaffelberg kind of, gaining a little bit of a run on him. But injuries, when it came for injuries and knocks, it forced a lot of the rotation. Brecolo is a center back. He's really never been a left back by any means. And he's definitely delivered big time for Orlando City this season. And so also he's a player that can go and defend very well on the 1v1. So it's been very important to have them there. Now, obviously, offensively, I think in the second half of the season, I think Ojeda took off. I think he's the best player in the team by far. And I think this is a player that they need to look out for 100%. And Marco Pasalic as well. He's been a big signing, 14 goals total. In all competitions. And like you said, the 4-1 against Miami was huge. It was something that the the boys wanted to definitely do. I think Orlando this year has beaten every single team in Florida. Like I think they eliminated the Rowdies from the U.S. Open Cup in Tampa, and then also they beat Miami twice. So um,
Yeah, you guys own Florida right now. Yeah.
yeah, so yeah, Florida's purple.
Uh, Looking at this lineup, is there anybody on it that sort of stands out as an X factor, or even anybody that on the bench you would probably mark as an X factor in this game?
Yeah, for sure. So um, a couple things. So if you're listening, Freeman and Pasalic have a great partnership. I think Alex Freeman. I think if Alex Freeman, David Brecalo, Pasalic, and Angulo have a great game, I think um, we have a high chance of winning this game. Also, Martin Ojeda being freed up right in the middle. Also looking for the set pieces. He's scored already a banger from a free kick. So he's becoming very dangerous on set pieces. They're practicing a lot of set pieces. So and Orlando is a team that loves the contact, and they're gonna draw some fouls to get some set pieces. So I think that's gonna be an X factor there as well. I will also say in the second half, more than likely, what we will see is Ivan Angulo. If the game is on a stalemate, we're probably going to see Terry Spicer coming in on the left for Ivan Angulo, and then Duncan Maguire coming for Luis Muria. And at that point, right now, those two are developing a partnership that at some point Rafa Santos had with Duncan Maguire before he got injured of his shoulder. So I think Spicer has picked up from Rafa Santos, which is now in, I believe, in Portland. I don't remember. I think
Uh,
Colorado. Sorry,
Colorado, yes. Yeah,
Colorado.
he's
Yeah,
with the
my
Raptors now.
apologies. Yeah, so he's in Colorado. So right now, Spicer and Duncan. So I think Duncan is going to be an X factor, because he has a heavy backbite on him, trying to be that impactful second half substitution that's gonna change the pace of the game. It is do or die for the Lions. But I do feel like Freeman Pasalic, for sure, their partnership is going to be very important. Ojeda's mastermind, and in the second half, I think if Muriel has not scored, um, he will be subbed by Duncan with Tyree Spicer.
I definitely circle Duncan Maguire as my X factor in this game. I think with the way that Cincinnati's played recently, they tend to get out to an early lead, try to see if they can hold it as long as possible, but they give up those late goals, and
Yeah,
that's where I think Duncan Maguire can definitely burn this team. FC
yeah, and
Cincinnati gets tired, and fresh legs will beat you.
yeah, and one thing that I will say that Orlando needs to get better at, and I mentioned it on our pod yesterday, was that there's a lot of experienced players in Cincinnati. I'll say players that have played in very competitive leagues, probably compared to what we have here. Not to talk bad about our players, but they've been in the hot seat in other leagues. Some of our
Mhm.
players come from smaller teams in Argentina that you probably never heard of, and or like Croatia, for example, a small team in Croatia. So what I'm talking about is, a lot of the Cincy players are literally adaptable into the MLS easier than our players. And I feel when it comes to Cincinnati, Matt Miazga, your center back duo, they like to talk a lot of crap. And that's what happened in the first game where you guys beat us. They got into the Orlando's players' head, and
Mhm.
we told some of the people at the club, like, you guys gotta cool down because Jansen and Schlegel just have this. I mean, they're great, but like you can't just and that's what happened. Schlegel had a red card in that
Mm.
game. So Schlegel had a red card. So I think they gotta be smarter than that. when it comes to those type of situations, and it's normal in the sport. It's just they gotta know that these are 4 finals for Orlando. The East is super competitive compared to the West. Like
Absolutely.
the
Yeah.
East is incredible. I think any team, like if you guys would have played the Club World Cup, you guys would have been a much better contender than probably Inter Miami. I think, and I say this not to throw shade at them. I don't think Inter represents the growth of soccer in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
I think teams like yourselves, guys, Cincinnati, like Philly, Columbus, like these are teams that have a solid grassroots movement attached. Not only they have the fan base, they have the infrastructure, but also have the wallet and the players and the numbers to back
Mm-hmm.
it up. So
I mean, it feels like a Space Jam sort of situation
yeah,
where Miami has, they've transported their talent from 2014, and now they're here in 2025 and looking to be just as good as they used to be.
yeah.
I think they're finding out, and other teams are also learning that it's not necessarily the case. Let me bring up our side just really quickly, maybe to get your thoughts on this FC Cincinnati squad. You mentioned Matt Miazga. He's not going to be in this game.
Oh,
He's still working himself back into 100% form. He had gotten a knock during one of the games, came off. That's not to say that our defense is threadbare. Nick Hagland has tons of experience back there. Miles
yeah.
Robinson, I think, seems to enjoy the right center back position. And what we're starting to see is whether it's Anunga or whether it's Samuel Ojidi in the middle with Buka, they're starting to find the path. Evander is connecting to Brenner and Denke, who are just sprinting towards the spots they need to sprint towards. The question I have for you is, looking at this lineup, without saying Evander, who do you feel would be the X factor on FC Cincinnati in this game?
Look,
It's a challenge.
so defensively, I think Miles Robinson is going to be forced to help Hageland, and so that's where space could go for Orlando City there. But when you ask me for the attacking, you're attacking third, which is amazing. My ass. I think Denke is going to be a key player because even though Brenner is hot right now, you got 2 experienced South American center backs. He just comes. He comes from playing, I believe, also down against big guys like Jensen and Schlegel. I think they're gonna study Brenner a lot and Evander a lot. So I feel Denke is gonna be important because Denke has this, I call it like a rocket of a foot that he can definitely hit it off from distance. And that to me is an X factor. Also, he has the speed and the good positioning to know, like as you see, Denke is right next to Brenner, but sometimes you see Denke as a more of like a 10, and you see Event. So these 3 up top change positions constantly.
Yeah.
But Denke
Absolutely.
has this nature of defending. Brazilian players that are number 9s tend not to defend. They tend not to run back for the ball. I think Denke is a player that could give you both, but I love the fact that he's so versatile because he can shoot the ball very well from distance, and that's going to be key because if they're having a stalemate and they want to open, Denke's going to throw a rocket and get Galese out of position, and then it's done. Um, and also Denke also on the 1v1 is a beast. So again, I think Denke is going to be one of your X factors there because I think that our defense is going to be thinking more of Brenner and Evander at that point.
You take a look at the matchup that they had last time at home against Nashville, and that goal that Brenner scored was all from Denke going to a spot on the opposite side. Drew away both defenders, and there was a path right down the middle.
A path right there. Yeah.
If he can do that, if Brenner can do that going the other way, I think you're going to see Route One football going right down the middle.
Yeah, I mean that's what Denki can do. And so, again, I think one similarity that both clubs I believe have, not only the grassroots movements that Cincinnati and Orlando share, when coming from the USL era and all of that, but mainly I think also the way we've scouted our teams through
Mm-hmm.
through the years. You guys with a little bit more success
Mm.
because I feel like the wallet has opened up a little bit more, and
Yes.
so your budget was a little bit bigger than ours, and I think ours it's been always low cost, high reward. So we're getting,
Mm.
because for example, when you mentioned Facu Torres leaving, all the
Mm.
fandom was like, "Why? Oh my God, we're gonna tank,
I
and we're
think
gonna."
that the writing was on the wall, though. Yeah.
Yeah, and then when they signed Pasalic, all the majority of the fandom was like, "I can't believe this is, Facu leaves, and the first thing they give us is this guy from Croatia. I cannot even pronounce the team, the team he comes from. Like, what the hell?" And look at Pasalic, like
Yeah.
people
11 goals this season, right?
exactly
Yeah.
people complaining about Atuesta not playing well, and Atuesta's touch, so it's just. Um, Oscar and I think the front office right now, there's definitely coming a lot of changes. Muriel he's the most expensive player in our roster, $3 million, and he has not really produced what it was expected when he was signed. And so I see, for example, if Orlando tanks and they fail in this upcoming 4 games against you guys, and it's gonna stuff for Columbus and Vancouver. If Orlando tanks and we're way below the playoff line, then I see a massive revolution happening down in Orlando City.
I don't see them dipping too low. I mean,
Yeah.
once
Oh,
again, a win, they will qualify. So they're definitely playing for at least a W in this column.
yeah. So
Um,
I think for you guys on the hunt for the Shield,
I think
and
we're more on the hunt for like a number one seed, but
yeah,
definitely the Shield is attainable. Yes.
yeah. So you guys are on the hunt for the Shield, and for the number 1 seed. We are on the hunt to clinch playoffs and just kind of cruise control the rest of the games,
Yeah.
and get everybody healthy because a new tournament starts when, and Columbus is proof they won the
Mhm.
championship, clinching eighth.
Yeah.
So a new tournament starts when the playoffs come.
Yeah. Absolutely. So let's lay it out, lay it out all our cards here. How do you see Sunday's game? Sunday's game.
Yeah.
How do you see Sunday's game panning out?
Well, obviously, I have a high respect for Cincinnati. My wife's grandma's from Cincinnati,
Oh, really? Very, very
which
nice.
I call her Auntie Sylvia. So I've actually my whole wife's family loves Skyline chili.
Oh, there you go.
So I know about the three-way and all of that good stuff. So I think it's gonna be a 2-1, hopefully, or Orlando win.
Mhm.
It will be massive, and it'll be definitely set a tune for what's coming. The next games, which are gonna just get tougher and tougher. But I think Orlando needs to show and clinch. And I think you guys still have a huge chance to. I just feel like even if you guys lose this game, I think you guys are gonna be fine. I mean, you guys have a fantastic front office and a beautiful stadium, a great fan base, and you guys are one of the hottest teams in the MLS. So.
Well, you're making us blush here. I'm going to predict a 2-1 FCC victory. I think
Yeah.
the positivity is off the charts after the past 2 games. Part of it is also, though, winning really well on the road. Um, the thing that's in the back of my mind, though, is that Orlando, you guys came in, punched us pretty hard in the mouth last year.
Yeah.
3-1 Orlando win late in the season. Granted, that was also an FCC squad that was limping to the finish line. This might be a little bit of a different squad, one that's sort of striding harder to the finish line. I see a 2-1 victory. I see Orlando still getting in as like a 4 or 5 seed. Might be a little harder
Yeah.
to get to the
The
conference
third.
finals. Like, yeah.
Yeah, definitely the shield is out of the question. And I think when, um, look, obviously each team says, the expectations, right? Getting into a conference final, what should have happened this year was getting into, be a number one seed or
Mhm.
fighting with you guys for the shield. It doesn't pan out that way. No one had Philly at first.
No one had Philly. No.
Everybody had Philly tanking, right? So
Mhm.
pretty much. And so look at that. So I feel um a new tournament starts in playoffs. I think we need to just be level-headed, calm, treat every game as a final. And then in 2026, a lot of contracts are up. And I feel like that's where Ricardo Moreira and the front office of Orlando City are going to try to make a lot of changes there. And hopefully, and I say it also as a, as a fan, not just as a journalist, I will love for them to open up the wallet a little more. Uh,
Mhm.
Not to get a Suarez or a Heung-min Son, nothing like that. I'm talking about getting players like, for example, Denki. No one
Mm.
had Denki, but Denki cost a couple million. Then
Yeah.
Brenner, bring back Brenner. At some point Orlando had the chance to sign Diego Rossi before Columbus, and they never took the chance.
Mhm.
So those are type of moves, like for example, now you say about your hunt for the shield. Look
Mhm.
at Brenner is gonna I mean, it's the way he's coming and playing the MLS like it's nothing, like he's never left. It's insane.
It's mystifying to us too, because I think last year we had said the same thing about Nico Gioacchini, and he scored nothing for us. We
Mm,
thought the same thing with Aaron Bupenza, rest in peace. Uh,
yeah.
he hit pretty hard to get us to where we need to go in the playoffs, but we just never had that number nine, that dual number nines position, uh, unless you're talking about the likes of Brandon Vasquez and Brenner. Now this year, we've got that feeling up top. We can definitely aim for the moon this time around.
100%, hundred
Yeah,
percent.
yeah. Well, let's wrap things up a little bit here. Thank you very much for joining us, Luis. It's a pleasure to be talking with all of these fans and journalists who hone their craft and talk feverishly about their squad. Give us a little information yourself. How can we find you on the World Wide Web and social media?
Sure. You can check me out on X at Pineda, Pineda underscore ORL. Also, check out our podcast, Loud and Proud Orlando. We're on YouTube, also on X, LPO underscore podcast. That's our handle, LPO underscore podcast, and Loud and Proud Orlando on YouTube.
Excellent. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. I know it's early in the week, but it's going to be an outstanding game between the two of us. If you want to listen to Loud and Proud Orlando, go and check them out on YouTube. Go and check us out too, Cincy Soccer Talk on all of the socials, Blue Sky, X, and YouTube. Go to CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com. You'll be able to check us out. There's our handles right there. Go and support us there too. We'd love to have you as a Patreon member. So, on behalf of myself, on behalf of Luis, on behalf of all the fans out there that are looking to see an excellent game on Sunday, keep your kits clean and let's play a nice 90 minutes. Thank you very much, Luis.